Hi guys, it's Miss Witt, and we're going to try something new with PBL this week because I feel like it's been difficult to touch base with all of you. I'm going to make some videos for you to refer to throughout the week to hopefully answer some questions and calm the confusion. Okay, I can't remember if it was a week or so ago, I had you guys make a little Flipgrid video about what you thought PBL was. And so that's what this short little video is going to be about. PBL stands for project-based learning. Some of you, I think, knew that off the top of your head. Others, I think, did some research about it. But basically, PBL is a type of learning that really lets you guys decide what you're learning and how you are learning it. You're going to be doing the bulk of your learning, almost everything, in PBL through a project that you come up with, design, and carry through. So a lot of people are sort of wondering why we are doing this. And I hope that some of these things over here on the side of the screen, you kind of say, oh yeah, that's why I'm in here. And so primarily we decided to do PBL for engagement because we really felt like a lot of you sitting in our rooms really weren't engaged in what we were doing. And so we're hoping that this method of learning will engage you. The more engaged you are in what you are learning, the more you're going to retain the information that you learn. So our hope is that everything you learn here, you apply it to something real and relevant that matters to you, and therefore it's cemented in your brain and you know it forever. A big component of PBL is something called student choice and voice. So basically, it's the idea that you have a say in what you are doing and how you are doing it. And then the most practical reason, I think, for a few of you why you are in here is because you just couldn't fit something else into your schedule. And so, lucky you, you get to be in PBL with us. So, how does PBL work exactly? We're going to go through basically a 5-step process in our PBL Academy, and we are going to work through those steps together as a whole group, and everyone will be on the same step at the same time. But eventually, some people might be doing shorter projects, some people might be doing longer projects, so people might be at different phases eventually, but for now, we're all going to be going through these steps together. So the first step is the proposal. Then you're going to research. You're actually going to make something, do something. Then you're going to prepare and practice for step 5, which is presentation and assessment. So in the proposal phase, this is where you're going to be using a lot of Project Foundry because you're going to be spending a lot of time on those proposal plan forms. There will be a video about that also, so if you're confused, don't worry about that right now. You have to have an essential question and many guiding questions. Again, there will be another video about that, but basically the idea here is what do you want to do? What questions do you need to answer to get that done? And how does your whole plan, how does your whole project play out? You're going to divide your project into smaller tasks. And then once you submit that plan in Project Foundry, it will come to myself, Mr. Vinson, Mrs. Spear, Mr. Roberts, Mrs. Muma for approval. Or if we're concerned that something doesn't really make sense, we will return it to you for further revision at that point. Once your project plan has been approved, now you're actually ready to start learning. And so you're going to do that by researching, obviously. You're going to be answering the guiding questions that you wrote down during your proposal phase. You're going to be collecting information from a bunch of different sources. It's very important that you cite your sources correctly. Some people might look at this kind of as like the book learning, but not all your learning here has to come from a textbook. It could come from a website, it could come from a video, it could come from an expert. So if you know somebody who knows a lot about what you're doing, you could interview them. There are a ton of places that you can collect information for your project, so don't get it stuck in your head that you have to get on Google and just start searching for things. You probably want as many sources as you can get. So you're going to be taking a lot of notes. You're going to be writing things down, citing your sources. From this part, you will create an annotated bibliography. Don't worry about that right now either. because you might not know what that is. Basically, it's just like collect your information, organize it, and make sure you're citing your source correctly. Once you know all the information, now you're actually ready to create something, your final product. So in my opinion, this is the fun part of Project Foundry, of the whole PBL process, I guess I should say, because you actually are going to get to do something here. At this point in time, the only restrictions we have on a final product is that it cannot be a poster and it cannot be a PowerPoint, because we are going to consider those presentation tools. Um, your final product might not relate directly to your standards. So I'm going to give you an example. I think that's the best way to explain this. One place that we went to visit, a student looked at horses, and they were in there for US history. And so they were really interested in horses, and they had to hit all of these US history standards. So what they did is they looked at the United States and the wars and conflicts that it was involved in through horses. So what role did horses play in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War One, World War Two, all the way up? Okay. And so they did all this research, they learned all about it. But their final product, they actually did some leather work and made like a bridle or something. So does making a bridle actually relate directly to US history? No, but it does relate to the horse, and that's how they learned all those standards. Um, so there's a lot of freedom here. We have to make sure that what you're doing is relevant, and that will all be approved through your initial proposal form. Um, but this is kind of the week of experimentation. We're actually getting to do things. Once you're finished with your product, you're going to take a week-ish to sort of press pause, make sure you've met all of your standards. Did you meet more? Do you need to add some? Did you not meet that one? Should you get rid of it? Um, you're going to get everything organized for your project. So you need your annotated bib. You need your product itself. You might want to show us some different steps in the process. You'll need some kind of presentation tool, a poster, a PowerPoint, whatever. What are you going to use when you stand up in front of the class and present this to show everybody you're learning? And then you're going to want to practice giving this presentation at least a couple of times to your friends and maybe to your advisors also. Because at the end of the day, how are you going to be assessed in here on your learning is all through this presentation. So this is kind of like you have to stand up and show everyone what you have learned. You're going to bring everything that you need, and you're going to stand up and explain what you did, explain how you created it, how did you meet your standards, what did you make, all of those things. Before you present, there will be a self-evaluation, so you can kind of tell the advisors, where do you think you are and why should you get the grade you think you should get. And then when you're completely finished with your whole project, you're going to do a reflection to sort of say, this is what went well, this is what I can do better. There will be a presentation rubric that we will use for everyone in the class. That's sort of in the production phase at this point, but as soon as it's finished, you guys will get a copy of it so you know what to expect. And the last thing you might need to do is send some thank yous if necessary. If someone from the community helped you a lot, it would be appropriate for you to send them a thank you for their help. Okay, so that's just sort of an overview of what we're going to be doing in here for the rest of the year. Depending on how many projects you do, you might go through those phases 8 times, you might do them 12 times, you might do them 6 times. Just keep in mind you have to meet all of your standards that are required through those projects. And we will talk more about standards in another video to come.